A very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome you all to ICF Travel Series Break Free Session number 21. And today's speaker is retired squadron leader Toolika Rani. And the topic for today is discovery of self on the mighty slopes of the Mount Everest. And Tulika is just back from another session. That's why there was a slight delay. She is like quite in demand on the speaker circuit. She has already delivered 75 plus talks. And like before our session, her talk was with Toastmasters International. And she is the first woman from UP who have climbed the Mount Everest and the first Asian to have climbed Asia's highest volcano. And the list of accomplishments is very long. The list of awards that she has been given is again very long. So I hand it over to her to take us on a adventurous journey over the next 1 hour.
Thank you, Vivekji, and the ICF for giving me this opportunity to be amongst you all here. Some of the audience I already know through you because I had joined your previous session. It is my pleasure that I see them here today. Mr. Dev, Mr. Murugaraj, so the Mountainites, of course. So today, as the session we are having, Break Free, when you told me about this title and the series, the travel series titled Break Free, it just intrigued me because there are so many times when we need to break free of everything that we have previously learned in our lives. And we need to learn our lessons anew. We have to just unlearn everything. We do not know what has happened till now and what is going to happen now next. The uncertain situation, the one that we are facing presently, we all are in this tough time due to this pandemic. And this is, again, this kind of a situation where we are unlearning everything that we had learned in our lives, and we have to learn some new things. So that is why your series, your title intrigued me. Today, what I'm going to speak, though it is my journey on Everest, but it is on the same lines, breaking free. Initially, when I had gotten into mountaineering, I broke free from the mundane city life because there are some kind of souls who cherish the mountains more, who cherish the accompaniment of nature more than the crowd of the city, than the hustle bustle of our everyday city life, its compulsions, its demands. It is very taxing. So initially, it was some kind of an escape for me. But later on, as I got into it and it got into my blood, it became a medium for self discovery. And that is why I have chosen today's topic as discovery of the self on the lofty slopes of Mount Everest. Let me share my screen with you. Is it visible?
Yes.
So as I told that Mount Everest, mountaineering later on became the medium of discovery of the self because we all are engaged and closed in a self-image. When we live on plains in a comfortable life, we think that we are something really big. We have this huge ego, all of us human beings, though we are nothing in front of nature. But when we put ourselves in these kind of challenges, such as Mount Everest presents, or any of the mountains for that matter presents, we learn that whatever we were thinking of ourselves was imaginary. There's so much more in this universe, and we are just a speck of dust in front of the vast repertoire of nature and the universe and the creation of God. So I would take you on this journey of mine today through the Mount Everest as to how it enabled me to learn about myself more and break free of the shackles of our own mind that we create for ourselves. So when I got into mountaineering, I was already serving as Indian Air Force. As I shared with you that we had an image of, somebody accomplished already, because in our society, being an officer is itself an achievement. So at that particular time, I was a flight lieutenant in Indian Air Force, had already put in some number of years, and used to consider myself very physically fit because I had topped my courses all throughout. I was good in studies, I was good in physicals, outdoor activities. When I got into mountaineering, I learned totally a new perspective of life and discovered myself how I will share. So this was the picture which I had shown previously. 2009, the Indian Air Force had conceived a plan to send its women officers to Mount Everest, and I had volunteered for it. This is a picture of our team who were being sent to conquer. Initially, this word conquer used to be used for mountains. Later on, I used to despise it so much that every time a journalist would say conquer the mountain, I would correct. It is not conquering the mountain because it is unconquerable. Any force of nature, as today also we are realizing in this pandemic, any element of nature is not conquerable by a human being. We can only survive it. And that too after conquering our own demons, our own fears, and learning about our own strengths and weaknesses. So our team was being sent to climb Mount Kamet, which is the third highest peak in India and the first highest peak open to climb. Thereafter, it was a training session of 2 years. Our team was being trained to climb Mount Everest for a period of 2 years on different peaks. And the peaks were gradually increasing in the technicality and a number of challenges. So these are some glimpses of various peaks. Then finally came the moment 2011. 2011, our team, the Indian Air Force women team, went to climb Mount Everest through Southeast Ridge in Nepal. And here is a small brief as to how Mount Everest is climbed. Most of us perhaps must be adventurous people listening to this talk today. So you already must have an idea as to how it is climbed. But still, in the brief, I would explain for the audience who would be seeing it on YouTube perhaps later on. This is the base camp. We reach here after climbing for 8 days. Then we set up 4 camps at different altitudes. The last camp at 26,000 feet, and above is the death zone. Scientists, after many experiments conducted on the bodies of climbers, have named it as death zone because human beings are not meant to survive here. The longer you remain in this zone, the longer you are in the clutches of death because your own body fluid has a tendency to get into your lungs or into your mind. So this flag, this is always a very emotional moment for me when I look at this flag, because this was left by our team, the Indian Air Force team, as a memorabilia in Nepal after successfully climbing Mount Everest. We were a 20-member team. 7 of us had successfully climbed, and the names of those are written over here in the saffron. Mine was not there. I would tell you that before we embarked on the expedition, as I had shared that we had prepared for 2 long years, and as I can tell you about myself, I'm a very intense person, and when I do something, I do it with all my heart and soul and with a lot of intensity. So I had prepared very much for that particular moment in 2011. And people in my team used to consider me fit enough to climb that mountain. But in life, certain times, the outcomes are not as per our expectations. Even if we have prepared very well, even if we think that we have done enough for this goal, somehow, somewhere, circumstances do not permit us to accomplish our goals. And that is when the failure is what teaches us. More than success, I would say, it's the failure that teaches us about ourselves. So I failed. My name is somewhere here. on the green portion. I failed. And I would tell you that I was not in the habit of failing because I have been a performer all my life, right from my childhood. I had been a topper in my 10th exam, 12th exam, university, merit list, 16th place. Then I topped my junior quotum in the Indian Air Force. I kept on topping all my courses. And I was really physically fit. So what happened? And what did I do after this? The motto of any talk of mine is not to glorify my success. Because when we present ourselves in front of the world, or rather when somebody calls us to share our stories, it is understood that we must have been somewhere successful because nobody listens to failures. And this is what happened to me. I came back as a failure in 2011. And the treatment was given to me as a failure itself. Because in this world, there are different categories, two very distinct categories. One is of a winner and the another is of loser. There is nothing in between in the eyes of the world. So you might have prepared very, very well, very hard for a task. But if you have remained at 99.9%, you would be put in the later category. And the treatment for the losers is very harsh. And that is the treatment that was given to me also. No, nothing new in that. But yes, as you see on the screen, till the time life is, the game is on. This has been my philosophy, that this game of life, till the time there is a breath in me, I decide whether I am in this game or not. We only decide whether we have quit already or we are still into it. And this is the beauty of life, that we can decide that the game is on. No, it is, we are the referees here, we are the players here. And it is in our hands to decide whether we quit, whether we go out of that play court or we stay into it. So I did that. I decided to go back again on Everest. When we fail, what do? We cry a little. We are all human beings and we are all pained and devastated. So was I. I used to listen to Ghalib's ghazals and shed tears in my own room, away from the public eye. But I would present a very, very confident front when I was in the public. But at the same time, my soul was stuck at that slope of Mount Everest from where I had returned. This is what I have learned from my failures on mountains. There were repeated failures in the beginning, but what I learned was this, that till the time you do not give up, there is always a hope of achieving that goal. But if you do not put in that effort again and again, there is also a gnawing voice within us which would not let us live. And there was this voice which was not letting me live without doing it. So I decided to go back again. And that was against all odds. Because whenever we would decide to do something which is not conventional, we will have to put everything that we have on stake. And that will spur the journey of self-discovery, the journey of our strengths. So there were challenges, of course. Determination is one thing in life. The zeal to achieve our goals is one thing in life. But how to do it? It is easier said than done. So we can say that, yes, we are going to do it. We will not leave it until we achieve it. Vivekananda said, arise, awake, and continue, stop not, till the time the goal is achieved. But this journey is not that easy. And because it is not easy, it is enriching. So there were issues of finances, because mountaineering or adventure sports, for that matter, we all know that it is very expensive. And people like us, however well doing we might be financially, it is beyond our capacity to spend 20 lakhs, to spend lakhs and lakhs every year on climbing mountains or doing adventure sports. So I tried to get sponsorship, but there was a very peculiar situation. The corporates will not sponsor me because I was already an Air Force officer. And being an Air Force officer, there was a restriction on talking to press. And if I don't talk to press, the corporates do not get anything in return. So they will not put their money where there is no return coming from. And the Indian Air Force did not have any policy, any precedence to sponsor the individual expeditions. There are always the group expeditions that the defense forces send. But this time in 2012, when I decided that I would go again on Everest, it was just my expedition, the individual expedition. It was not the Air Force's expedition. So they were also not at fault, though the Air Force gave me equipment and a lot of moral support. I always say this, along with criticism would come support. Along with the dejections would be hope. And if there are two people, 10 people who are opposing us, there would be perhaps 20 who would support us in their small ways. So I have been blessed in my life to get such people, such 20 and number of people in my life who support me in their small ways. So after every kind of juggling, I was back again on Everest in 2011. And this time, as you see, not with a team, but alone. And this was a moment which made me learn that line of Rabindranath Tagore, Ekla chalo re. At times in life, we need to do this, Ekla chalo re. जब कोई ना हो साथ, लेकिन फिर भी हमें जब अपनी चीजें अचीव करनी हो, तो ये एक लाइन हमेशा बहुत बहुत संबल देती है कि हम अकेले चल सकते हैं और हम अकेले भी चल के उन चीजों को अचीव कर सकते हैं. लेकिन फिर भी अकेले कहाँ? This is what I feel. Are we actually alone? There is somebody sitting up there, which I really believe in. There is this Almighty God. There is nature all around. And there are the wishes of all those people who have faith in us when we fail. So ultimately, we might be doing it alone, but emotionally, we are not alone. This is what I always feel. So I ventured into Khumbu Ice Fall. Thereafter, this is a small video which I would like to show. That was Khumbu Ice Fall, and just a glimpse of climbing from base camp to Camp 1. The picture that you see today here now is climbing towards Camp 3. Camp 3 is at 23,000 feet, and that altitude, 7,000 meters or 23,000 feet, is the limit of human acclimatization. However much the workouts we do on the plains, it is not going to enable us to survive beyond that or acclimatize our body to that altitude. After this is something which just changed my perception towards life. This is the last leg towards the tip of Mount Everest. The picture that you see here now is just the 3,000 feet, the last 3,000 feet towards the summit. It is after the Camp 4 to the summit. And this climb is generally done in the night because we require close to 20 hours or so of going up and coming down. So when I was climbing here, at 8 o'clock, I started climbing. And then after just 1 hour into the climb, I started feeling cold in my feet. Now, I would like to take you back to that moment in 2011 when I told that I could not climb in 2011. And there were multiple reasons. One reason was that I was feeling cold in my fingers. And again, the test of destiny came again here. The test of my mettle was presented in front of me in 2012 also. This time I started feeling cold in my foot. And the same question in front of me, whether I should continue or turn down. Last year, I had turned down and I had to live in pain. I had to live in anguish for that 1 year that I did not push myself enough, perhaps. So here, was I going to take that risk or was I going to turn down and save my limbs and life? This was the death zone, as I had told you before. Here, if you're not feeling well, as such, surviving is very difficult, but on top of it, if you're not feeling well, you are in a very grave danger. But sometimes we have to push those boundaries, and we have to realize as to how much latent strength is there in human beings when we are in these challenging situations, and we decide to transcend the physical boundaries. Then we realize the power of our mind, the power of our bodies. So I decided to continue and kept climbing. I continued feeling the pain in my foot, and it was an excruciating pain. But if we do not bear that pain, I suppose we will not gain anything in life. So when I continued, the night passed, and the night passed in agony and pain again. Then came the dawn. Because after every night, however long the night is, there is certain to be a dawn after it. It is only a matter of persevering during that dark night, during that painful time. This is the journey on Mount Everest. But I have realized that everywhere in life, we might be doing anything, any profession we might be in, or we might be pursuing any goal, but any kind of challenging situation, even this present pandemic situation, it is a dark, painful night. But it is certain that after that night, there will be a dawn. It is only a matter of surviving that night with all our might. Whatever we have within us, just garner that strength and be there. Just stick to whatever you have, and this night will pass. The way that night on Mount Everest passed, and this dawn came. So here came this hilarious step. It is a rocky step. I had a difficulty in climbing it because it was a very haphazard kind of a rocky section. But if we persist, things are possible. And I persisted here also. And ultimately, I was able to climb over this too. Finally, that 26th May 2011, because of which today I'm speaking to you, this day came, the dawn also arrived, and I had the opportunity, I had the pleasure, I had the privilege to stand on the top of Mount Everest. That time, it was just God above me and just thousands and thousands of deep, snowy valley beneath me. At that time, you feel that you are just a tiny part of this huge nature, nothing much. I was grateful to God for having me lived, because there are so many dead bodies when you climb up the Mount Everest and any peak for that matter above 8,000 meters, that you realize that life and death are actually not in our hands. And if there is life still written for us, we will be alive at any cost. We will be alive in any kind of conditions. People who are recovering from COVID today, there are miracles. People above 90 are surviving. So there are miracles and magics happening. So if we are meant to live, we will live. But if the death is certain at that particular time, we can die. So there is no point fearing death. We shall do in our lives what our hearts tell us to do, what we are meant to do, what we are destined to do. And that is why fearing death or injury is no point. This is a video on top of Mount, sorry. Okay.
Top of the Mount Everest. How do you feel, Miss Toolika? Huh? So, कैसा लगा देना? Top Mount Everest में
This was the view from the top of Mount Everest. And my Sherpa asked me, how do you feel, Miss Toolika? You're standing on top of Mount Everest. The first sentence that I spoke was, I couldn't have done it without you. This has been my philosophy that gratitude is a very beautiful virtue in human beings. Whoever has supported us in whatever capacity, when we achieve that goal, we must remember that we couldn't have done it without those people who supported us. And it is incumbent on us to express that gratitude. So I did that. And thereafter, this was a gesture from my side to express my gratitude to my organization, the Indian Air Force, because ultimately it was the IAF which had conceived this plan, which sowed the seed in me for climbing. And when I returned after a successful climb in 2011, though it was my individual climb, I came back to the same lodge where my team had left this bigger flag as a memorabilia, which I showed you earlier. And I put this small flag, which I had held 1 year later on top of Everest, just beneath it. It was the culmination for that Mount Everest expedition for me now, and a gesture of gratitude from my side to Indian Air Force. I wrote on it, if you're ready to put everything at stake for your dreams, they do come true. The dreams come true, but they take everything that we have. If we leave even 1%, we're not going to be there. But if we put all, they will come true. The God will decide the time and the form in which they will come true, but they will. So the cost was this, as everything in life has a cost. So when we pursue something, we have to leave something, we have to bear some pain. My cost of climbing Everest on that particular night was this: my frostbitten toes, blood and pus coming out of it. But again, here, I delved deep into myself and realized one core thing, which I have been discovering again and again, that human beings have immense, immense latent strength within them. If we just gather it, we are ourselves amazed as to what we can do. The body is just an instrument. It is all about mind, and I say it with experience. So these were the toes. I was admitted in a hospital for 3 months. The condition you can see, the toes were not being able to put on ground, but I walked, I ran, and I walked on my heels, and I ran in my flippers. Thereafter, when everybody told me to quit climbing, I decided that I would not. Because it is we, as I told in the beginning, it is we who decide whether we are still in the game or we go out of the court. So I decided I'm still in. And that is why just after a month of coming out of the hospital, I was back in the mountains, though without my shoes, in slippers and with bandaged toes. I continued climbing, and I continued bandaging my toes for 2 long years, in which there were many, many expeditions happening. This was also one, Mount Damawand in Iran. This is the highest volcano in Asia. And I had the privilege to represent my country amongst climbers from 16 nations, and had the privilege again to become the first Indian woman to climb it. Then came Annapurna Base Camp in winters, Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Elbrus, Mount Nun. There came Mount Kanamo. There was also an unclimbed peak in Himachal Pradesh, which our team, including me, successfully climbed for the first time. Then the Borasu Pass in June 2018. So the journey of climbing continues, and the journey of self-discovery continues, because I do believe that there is so much within us that we can continue discovering ourselves the whole life, and we would keep on getting amazed the whole life. So it is an ongoing, beautiful journey through challenges, through hardships, through struggles. And thereafter, when we reach that top, it is not the top that teaches us anything. It is that each step which we take when we are in pain, anguish, agony, when we are struggling with ourselves, when we are taking all our energy from the depths of our heart and putting it there, it is those steps that teach us what we actually are. It is those steps that make the top so beautiful and so rewarding. So this is my philosophy, the magic and miracles, to keep that child alive in all of us, which believes in magic and miracles. As we are seeing, even now, it is a very tough situation for all of us, the COVID situation, but still the magic and miracles are happening. But it is not something which we had been reading in our books as children. It is the magic of dreams. It is the miracle of our will. It is the strength of our united being that makes these miracles happen. So we just need to plunge ahead, take charge. We will fall, but we will survive. We will fall, but we will rise, because like the elements of nature, the waves of a sea, the way they rise and fall and again rise, we as an element of nature shall be like them, like the waves. Just fall and rise again. Thank you so much, ICF, for giving me this opportunity. And I thank all my audience today for patiently listening to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Toolika, for an exciting session. And over to the audience now for their queries, comments, feedback.
My son wants to say that it was very nice.
Thank you.
And
Thank
he
you.
was he
Let
was
me see.
sure face. He was so taken aback by the froze-bitten toes, and then he was asking a lot of questions. Why did it happen? What did she do? Were they bleeding? Did she walk? A lot of questions, but so that story was really inspiring. I am sure it is for him also. And thank you for that. Wonderful presentation. It was professional and also inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shanmugam. And lots of laughs to the little child. What is his name?
Adi Rayan, what's your name?
Adi Rayan.
Adi Rayan Shanmugan.
Adi Rayan. Wow, what a name. Thank you.
Jyoti just wanted to ask you whether your son is also watching today's session.
Who is watching?
Hi, my son is around, and he reminded me at 3:55 saying your session starts at 4. And I had told him that today's session is very important. I didn't want to miss it. So he's around, so he's not watching. He's not watching with me, so I had my earphones on. There, say hi. That's him. But he reminded me that you wanted to watch this so much, and it's starting. Don't miss.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tulika, I think, I had goosebumps throughout the session. I mean, to be honest, and right from the opening scene and how you showed, your journey throughout, like how it started, and how it didn't happen the first time. I don't know if I mean, not about mountaineering, but the very important takeaway for me very clearly is to never obviously give up, and how, you rose from your failure, and failure as in, you couldn't make it to the top. I mean, I wouldn't call it failure. Um, and so that's absolutely inspiring. And yes, I think you've not you've not shared the full picture. I mean, probably what you shared here is just snippets, and there's so much more to this journey, and there's so much more behind the scenes. For some, you could capture and all the struggles. So I was with you through this entire 45 minutes to 1 hour, and I think it's going to linger for a long time. Thank you. Thank you for being so inspiring.
Thank you, Mr. Jyoti. Yes, you said rightly that it was just a glimpse, because it was a journey of 3 long years actually, which I spoke in half an hour or so. And whenever we do something, it takes us a very, very long time and sustained efforts to perform on that particular day or that particular event. So yes, the book is also coming out now. There would be some kind of details in it. And if we meet someday personally, I would like to learn your story, because all of us have a story to share. And I'm sure that somebody who recognizes a substance in other people has a substance in himself or herself. So thank
We
you
call
so
it
much.
the tribe. We call it the tribe.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much. Look forward to your book. Yes, fortunately, I read. So I will, and I hope I have an autographed copy in person sometime when the stars cross. Thank you.
Yeah, Tulika, Meeta Kumar, she wants to know, were you scared at any point while you were like climbing the Everest?
Yes, I suppose fear is very natural in all of us. And though I'm not afraid of heights, like some people are, I enjoy being on heights rather and looking down, because it is such a beautiful view from there. But when the situations are really tough, and when we think at times that maybe we are not going to make it, we feel scared. I always feel scared of failure, and that fear pushes me to do much more, to work harder, because I don't want to fail. I'm scared of failure. Though I am here talking of how to take our failures and still continue, but the truth is that within me, I do not want to fail. Nobody wants to fail, rather. So I'm scared of that failure. And because of that fear, I work that much more harder when I'm preparing for it, so that I do not fail. And still, if I do, then I try to take it very positively. So there was a moment when I was climbing Everest, that in the second expedition itself, because so much was on stake. I had taken my entire year's leave, entitlement of leave of 60 days in one go. I had shelled out the entire expenses of 21 lakhs from my own pocket. And people had been calling me crazy for doing all this, going to climb Mount Everest after my own expenditure and everything. So there was so much on stake. And there came a time when I felt sick on Mount Everest at the same point from where I had returned the previous expedition. And at that moment, when I came back down, even below the base camp, I had a lot of chest pain during that one night. I was just sitting up, holding my chest and praying. That one moment, yes, I was scared. I was scared that perhaps I'm not going to make it. But as I say, that I have this habit of fighting with my body. When the body starts giving up, I just come into a very combative kind of a mode that no, you cannot right now. My work is not done. I'm not done, so you cannot give up, because you are only instrument that I have to do this, and you cannot give up. So I came in that kind of a fighting spirit of a soldier, and miraculously again, in the morning when I woke up, I was fine. I went to a doctor, and he checked my vitals, and he said, all your pulse, everything is fine. You just need to recover. And I did. And after that, I went back up again all the way, and I did reach the top. So those are the kind of moments when I feel scared. Yeah, yes, thank you.
Meeta, you will have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Were you at any time overcome by the elements, like a stormy weather or like, scary in the night, like we see in movies that, or you read about many mountaineers being lost because of the unforeseen circumstances, like.
Yes, Ram. The elements, they test us at each moment, I suppose, when we are climbing. So there was one moment, as I just shared, when I was climbing the last leg. It was just one night between me and the
And the
summit.
right.
And then when I started feeling cold, it was such an excruciating pain. If I describe it, it felt as if somebody had put my foot on an ice cube
Oh,
or a ice big chunk of ice, and in that kind of environment where the temperature is minus 30, when the winds are very high,
yeah.
you are in the dead zone at 26,000 feet and climbing above,
I
and you imagine that. So yes, that element did overpower
yes.
me, but I fought back because I'm a
Right.
soldier, I'm a trained soldier,
Mm-hmm.
and I have this fighting spirit. There was one another moment. I did not show the picture here. It was on Mount Sasir Kangri. We were again on the summit camp, just one night between us and the summit, similar kind of situation. And the winds were reported by the Met department, I suppose it was 60 kilometers per hour or even higher.
Oh.
And the outer of our tent was torn by the winds. And we were sitting inside holding the poles of our tent.
Oh my
That
God.
was the situation, so that we are not blown away by the
I
wind.
know.
Another moment was that there are so many moments when I fell into a crevasse. I have been i have been falling. I don't know, I have this tendency to fall somehow,
I see.
though I'm very careful while climbing. But maybe it happens to everybody. All the
Yeah.
climbers who have done a number of climbs must have fallen a number of times
Yes,
too.
yes.
So I have all those incidents when I have fallen.
I know.
I feel perhaps now I'm going to end up at the bottom of the mountain. I don't have to go down further on my own legs. I will just keep rolling.
Slide down. But when you achieve your destination, when you reach, it must be such an exhilarating experience, right? And a humbling one, I'm sure.
Definitely, definitely.
Great, great, great to hear you, Toolika. Very nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Vivek,
So
I would request you one thing. I would read these messages because Divya has written, ma'am, of course, Meeta ma'am has written, Anna has written. I would require these messages to be with me as a memory. So
Yeah,
this
sure.
would be my
Yeah,
takeaway.
we will share the chat with you.
Thank you.
So, Tulika, so I've because I read some few books on mountain climbing. So one is by Ed Westers. So he's one of his very famous quote that getting on the summit is optional, but getting down is mandatory. That is something whenever somebody climbs, I keep on wondering because I've seen some new movies as well as read more and more about it. Okay, but for the first time, I've seen somebody actually that last moment between the summit and your, the pain what you've been undergoing, because that I was able to get a better picture because I used to keep on wondering. So why? Because when somebody knows that they are not well, why they climb up? Because there are times when even the Sherpas tell to get down, people still try to make up, and then they get into various other problems. So the first time I've seen, at least I heard that from your side, and looking forward to your book also. So definitely after getting your book, we'll read and have one more session because definitely because this is a very small session, like probably books people are able to describe far better about different experiences. So definitely we should have one more session after your book gets published.
Thank you. If you guys are ready to listen to me, I'm happy speaking. Thank you, Mr.
Because
Dave.
because I know how difficult it is climbing, because I used to do the photography, so some of the high altitude birding we used to do. So one of my teammate Sangeeta, we both had gone to Kanchenjunga National Park. So for a couple of days we were walking, and I know how difficult it was.
Yes.
So it's so difficult. So it's compliments to you. Congratulations. So it's nice to hear so many good things. The
Thanks.
last one, what I want to know is what are the best things? Because one I have read is that that sky is so beautiful. That is something that every mountain used to say that whenever we climb, we see the stars and looks so good. So what are the other good experiences which you can't find in your regular life, which you experienced in the on the way to your summit?
The clouds, I would say, because I have always been enamored by the clouds, and I wrote a poem also. Though I write in both Hindi as well as English. So that one was in Hindi, and it goes like this: बादल की तरह उड़ते रहना, ऐ काश यही नियति हो मेरी, स्वच्छंद रहूं उन्मुक्त हो मन, ऐ काश यही नियति हो मेरी. So clouds represent to me something boundless, limitless, who can go anywhere, do anything, but still they have a humane side to them. Though they are not bound by anything, they do not stay at one chalk hut. They are not of one home, of one people. They are for everybody. But whenever there is a drought, whenever somewhere there is a requirement of rain, clouds give their life and shower the rain. I want to be like that. I want to be limitless, boundless, but wherever I'm required, even if at the cost of my life, I would like to just give it all and help those people, even at the cost of my own life. So clouds were what I used to just love watching. We do not see so many clouds when we are in the cities, but in the mountains, it's just beautiful. So that was one experience which lingers in my mind all the time.
Okay.
And compliments to you too, that you were climbing and clicking photographs, because these are two very difficult things to do. And I have a huge admiration for those people who click beautifully. I have seen some of your
Thank you.
pictures, I think, on Facebook. They're
Thank
beautiful.
you.
So you could do two things together simultaneously, two difficult things. So that requires some appreciation.
Thank you.
Sangeeta Das is here, so if she wants to,
She's also a very good photographer. She's my birding friend.
yeah,
So
that,
she's from Kolkata. So we have done trips together.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. No, I have nothing to say. I'm very. It's a very wonderful thing to share the experience what you share with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sangeeta. Loads of love to you. And keep looking at birds, keep tickling. And I suppose I would be very privileged to see your pictures, yours and Mr. Dev's both. So please keep sending them to me, because from wherever the beautiful things come, they're always beautiful. They're always welcome.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
yeah, we have Mr. Murlidhar also, who is also into birding. Like his partner is Mr. Selvaraj, who presented a session on birding for us. So if he would like to share his thoughts.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Mr. Murlidhar, you will have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I enjoyed your narration of the Everest. Now, after you have done with all your climbing and all, how would you like to guide other people, or you share your other experiences? How would you go about?
Thank you, sir. First thing is that climbing is a lifelong passion. It will continue. It is not done yet. And second, yes, about guiding, I suppose guidance is in various ways. So right now that I'm speaking, as I have connected to you, I'm connecting to many people across the globe. And whatever I have learned, climbing is just one physical activity, but it is also a much more spiritual experience, emotional experience, and as the topic of my talk today was, a means to discover oneself. So not everybody needs to be a climber, but yes, anybody who wants to be a climber, requires my guidance, I'm always there. But I would like to expand this arena of guidance, because through my talks, through my actions, and through my words, my speech, writing, I would like to instill that hope and faith and this process of self discovery into people, whether they are climbers or not, from wherever they come, whichever part of the world, whichever profession. If my words can ignite that process in themselves, I think I'm successful. So this is what I'm going to do now.
Thank you. Well said. Thank you.
So thanks, Toolika. Thanks all the participants. And our next session will again be about the Himalayas. The title is From the Western Himalayas to the Eastern Himalayas. The presenter is Mr. Shahid Khan, and he's present among the audience. So if you can give us a brief intro to the session.
I would, before Shahid comes, I would like to say one thing.
Sure.
As Mr. Muralidhar was asking about guidance, I would like to bring it to the fore that we have the mountain nights. So I am associated with this adventure agency. This is not only an adventure agency, but it is much more than that. Shahid will speak a little bit about it further. So this is one forum through which we are guiding people, and we guide people on the tracks and expeditions and the process of self-discovery. As we have said, you would listen more from Shahid, but I'm sure that after listening to me and to him, his would be the next session. You would surely visit this site, the Mountain Nights, discover for yourself what it is all about. And Mr. Muralidharan's question would also be answered. The guidance that we can give to the society, we have created this forum to impart that guidance in our own way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Shahid.
Good evening, everyone. And I would like to thank Coordinator Toolika for giving time and sharing her thoughts with us, sharing her journey with us. So like you asked and you wanted to know a little bit brief about my talk that will be on next week. So the title is From Western Himalayas to Eastern Himalaya. It will be a journey of my mountaineering expeditions, which actually started from Janskar range and which took me to the Eastern Himalaya. And what all I did in this process, right from the day one I started my mountaineering and till date, as a mountaineer, as a mountaineering instructor, and as an entrepreneur who started his own adventure company to train people with certain vision and mindset. And it is a journey of an individual who initially was working in corporates. He could have earned very lucrative salary, big packages, which option still exists. But despite of that, there was a reason because of which he decided to opt for mountaineering. And he continued with mountaineering for something much bigger than material comforts. So I'll be talking about all these things in my session that is coming week. So that's all for now, to give a brief introduction about this, my talk.
Yeah, thanks, Shahid. We look forward to your session, which will be next week at 4 p.m. And our regular session on editing, it will be at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. The speaker is Krista Badwin, and the topic is about readability, how we are able to turn like technical text into readable text.
Right, sir.
Yeah. So
looking forward to both these events.
Yeah. So that's all for now. And everyone have a good day. Thanks, Toolika. Thanks to all of you for attending the session.
Thank you. Thank you, Tilak.
Thank you, everyone.